What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another loose graded vintage Star Wars market update. We've got some UKG, CAS, and AFA graded examples, and maybe it's just me, but in general, I feel like the supply of loose AFA graded figures is pretty low right now, and maybe it's just because AFA has shut down, but in general, eBay has not had that much inventory for AFA loose graded figures. It's pretty minimal. UKG and CAS are certainly picking up the slack, and we've got a number of different examples. A lot of them sold for great deals. A lot of them left me scratching my head, but I can tell you there were some really good deals here recently in buy it now situations on eBay. So let's go through all of the details. The first one we've got is a China COO UKG graded Luke Farm Boy. Brand new case style, really nice looking example. And that one sold for 345 pounds in a buy it now situation. And that's 441 US dollars. That's a pretty nice looking example. Really looks nice. I still think that UKG makes the best loose graded vintage figure cases right now. There's something about the accessory kind of inlaid piece there that just looks really nice in UKG graded examples with their brand new case styles. So that one, again, sold for 441 US. I think that's probably about right. The China COO came on later card backs like the Return of the Jedi for these Luke Farm Boys. Maybe a little tougher to find than the standard Hong Kong blonde-haired Luke Farm Boy. There were a couple of different Darth Vaders that sold that were graded by CAS. And me personally, I don't like how CAS uses these brackets around the arms for Darth Vader. It looks like he's trapped and his arms are kind of scrunched up. It just doesn't look that great to me. So it is what it is. I mean, that's just how they do it now. But this one was a no COO Darth Vader graded CAS 85. It was listed for $300 and the best offer that was accepted was $200. So probably about right, I guess. I don't know, maybe a little high, but this is the one that left me scratching my head. This is a Taiwan COO Darth Vader graded CAS 85. It was listed for $600 US dollars, and the best offer that was accepted was $400. So I don't get this one because, you know, we talked about that in a recent unboxing video. I picked up a Taiwan only COO that was only available down in New Zealand and Australia. Made it by the Toll Toys factory. It appeared on Toll Toys cardbacks, and that was a Taiwan COO. This is a made in Taiwan, and I think that CAS should put that on the label instead of just saying Taiwan. But the regular made in Taiwan is not that hard to find, and usually an AFA 85 you might be talking at most $300. So I don't know why this one sold for $400, but it is what it is. I do find that there are certain figures that are tougher to find in the Taiwan COO. Some examples would be like the R2-D2 Solid Dome or the Chewbacca. Some of those can often go for a little bit of a premium relative to their standard Hong Kong releases. And Vader's probably in that same boat, but I don't think it's worth $400 personally. But anyway, that's what it did sell for, was $400, best offer accepted. Next up was a CAS 85 Death Squad Commander baggie, and that one sold at an auction for $215. That's a pretty good buy there, and I think that's probably worth every penny. And I do like how CAS grades their baggies. I don't like it as much as the UKG Deluxe baggie cases, but there's certainly a step up from the AFA cases for baggies. I just don't like AFA baggy case styles, but CAS does a pretty good job. The photos weren't great on this one, and that might have kept the price down a little bit. I think they could have benefited from maybe a little bit better pictures on this one. But anyway, that one did sell for $215 plus shipping. Next up, this seller, Cashel Retro Trader was the seller over in the UK. I bought from this seller before, and he always has really nice figures. And some of his prices in this batch in particular were really great. We'll get to a yak face that sold, I think, for a song and a dance towards the end of this video. But this was a Hong Kong Luke Skywalker X-Wing pilot that was 99 pounds, which is 126 US dollars. It's really hard to get Luke X-Wings in high grade, and this one looked every bit of an 85 to me. It was really clean. The white paint on the legs especially was still in great shape. Here's the back of the figure there. The white on the Luke X-Wings can scratch really easily, and That's why you find those very, very tough to get with like an AFA 85. But this was a UKG 85, and for 126 bucks, that's a really good buy. I would have paid that all day long. Next up was an AFA 85, brand new case style for the Hong Kong R5D4. This was the 1978 date stamp. There is a 1977 as well for the Hong Kong, as well as for the no COO. This one sold in an auction for $212.50. And that's a pretty good buy there. I've seen them sell as high as $300 for an AFA 85 recently, so I think that's a pretty good buy there at $212. This is one, the red snaggletooth is another figure that seems to be tough to find in high grade, and this price reflected that. Even though this was the older case style, this was an AFA 85 red snags Hong Kong COO, so the most common, but it still sold for $310 on 30 bids, so that's a pretty big price point. But in general, you don't see a lot of red snags pop up that in high grade, and I don't know why that is. But a lot of it might have to do with the feet and the hands. The red can show through really easily on the red snags, and so it makes it really tough to get an AFA 85 for this particular figure. There is also a PBP figure. I don't know if there's a no COO or not. I mean, it didn't appear on like the Palatoy Tri-Logo or anything like that, but this figure is just one of those tough ones to get in a high grade. And of course, you know, the lack of supply means it's going to have a higher demand and a higher price, and 310 took that one home. Next up was the Cloud Car Pilot in a Hong Kong AFA 85. It was the older case style, which I don't like that much because the two accessories, the communicator and the blaster, kind of rattle around inside that little box there, whereas their new cases have that recessed case for both accessories. And this figure was even lacking the dowels around the neck, so this one can kind of rat around inside. And the price reflected that. It sold for $192.50. We documented one last year that was an AFA 85 Plus that sold for, I think, almost $900, which is crazy to me. But anyway, this one sold for $192.50. I think in a newer case style, you can probably see closer to $300 for that figure. But that's another one that's really tough to get in a high grade just because of the white on the Cloud Car Pilot. Next up is yet another red-haired Princess Leia. This was an AFA 80 Plus. We just documented one recently that was an 80 Plus grade, newer case style that sold for, I want to say it was around $280. It was a big number. But this one had the older case style, and that one sold in an auction for $195.50. But the red-haired Hoth Leia is a fairly well-known variant and very popular among collectors. But 80 plus for that one at $200 is probably about right, just given what they can sell for ungraded loose. This seller, the Muffin Man, he did have some new figures, and he is shipping using the global shipping program now. We just documented that amazing batch of Lettys and Pox and PBPs that he sold. Well, his account is now open for international shipping, and he had two stunners that sold in Buy It Nows. I was really tempted on one. This was not that one, but this is the Pox/PBP Dark Bandolier Jawa. This is one I do have in my collection in the same grade, UKG 85%. This one was listed for 600 pounds, which is $761. The best offer that was accepted was 480 pounds. So you're talking about close to $600 US, and that's almost exactly what I paid for mine. Mine I have displayed with the cape next to the figure, so you can see the dark brown bandoliers. But this is a very tough to find figure, one of the tougher to find Spanish figures. But that one did again sell for 480 pounds. But this is the one I really wanted. This is a beautiful gray-haired Spanish Pac Yoda, graded UKG 80%. And he's got a very distinctive head color, and he's kind of known as the gray head Yoda. So this is a very tough one to find. Maybe a little overgraded, just given the wear to the hand there. You can see the left hand is got quite a bit of wear to it, some spots on the feet as well. But this is a tough variant to find. Here's the label on it. Yoda, brown snake, Pac, gray head, graded UKG 80%. The paint got an 80, figure 80, cape 85. So that was a tough one. I had this on my watch list. It did not last long. it just wasn't timing wise. It didn't work out for me, but this one did sell. It was listed for 400 pounds. The best offer that was accepted on that was 325 pounds. So you're talking right around 400 US dollars. I probably should have threw in a bid on or made an offer on that one. I was hoping it would go to auction, but usually what happens is his items, if they don't sell for after a week or two, he puts them at auction. But I think that was a really great buy at 325 pounds, or about 400 US dollars for the gray-haired Puck, or gray-headed Puck Yoda. So beautiful example. Here was an AFA 85 new case style Luke Jedi Taiwan. This one sold for $227.50. That's a pretty good buy. And the Luke Jedi in the Taiwan is very common, so he kind of goes against the grain of what we were talking about earlier with some of the first 12 figures that appear as Taiwan COOs. There's a lot of Luke Jedis that are Taiwans as well as Hong Kongs. Not hard to find that one. That one again sold for $227.50. That's a bargain. That's a price I'd be willing to pay all day long. It did have $20 shipping, so right around $250 took that one home. But for an AFA 85 Luke Jedi, I mean, that's a number I'd pay all day long. Here was another really good deal, I thought. This was a blue saber Luke Jedi, and let's see, I think this was the Hong Kong blue lightsaber. 90, 85, 85 were the subscores. So very, very high grades. That presents really nicely inside that UKG case. And it sold for 250 pounds, which is 320 US dollars. Even with shipping to the US, that was $350. That's a price I'd pay as well. I've got one of these already, but I did think that was a really good buy there. Next up was a Lily Letty Bib Fortuna. This was graded UKG 85%. The Letty is known to have a very distinctive darker robe as well as a very dark staff. And you can tell very quickly if you look at it, it's a very, very dark staff relative to the Hong Kong, and I think there's a Taiwan and a few others, but it's kind of like a greenish robe to it. But very high grade Lily Letty, and that one sold. It was listed for 325 pounds. It sold for 275 pounds. So that's a really good buy there. You're talking probably around $300 or so for that one. And, they can oftentimes sell for close to that ungraded. But that was a pretty pristine example with a brand new case style. Lily Letty UKG 85%. Next up was a CAS 85%. Size Snoodles and the Rebo Band, and I do think that CAS does the best job displaying the whole Cantina band loose graded like this. It just looks awesome inside the case. It looks like they're playing the music as they're encased in acrylic carbonite there, and I've got the Lily Letty example graded just like this, but a CAS 85 plus is tough to get. It does look like there's some fading to the arms and head for Max Rebo. It's very tough to tell just because all he did was pull the CAS submission photos, but certainly is a nice looking example there. And that one again sold for $600 in an auction, only one bid, plus $25 shipping. So $625 for a CAS 85 Max Rebo band. And you're probably talking pretty close to a Tatty mint and sealed box example for that price. But certainly a beautiful example, and I love the way it's displayed. Next up, some last 17 figures, a CAS 85 Monomon. This one sold in an auction, 21 bids for $256. I mean, again, this is another figure that sells for close to that price, loose and ungraded. So $256 plus $10 shipping for a CAS 85. Really nice looking example. It's kind of weird how CAS kind of makes him float inside the case, but it's kind of a tough figure to kind of encase properly just because it's so awkward as a figure. He's got really long arms and that weird staff. This is definitely, in my opinion, the strangest vintage Star Wars figure in the entire line. I mean, he's got these little shrunken heads on the staff. It's just a very bizarre figure, but it's also cool though. It's one I don't have in my collection. Maybe one day I'll pick one up, but that's a pretty reasonable price for a very high grade looking Monomon. Here was a last 17 Luke Skywalker with his battle poncho graded 85 plus the coin was inside. This is a really nice clean presentation for the figure and the coin, and that one sold for $600 plus $943 shipping. I mean, you got to remember that you can pick up a mint and sealed package or a mint on card for about $650 to $700. So someone really paid up for that one, but it was a high grade at 85 plus, and it certainly looks very clean and nice presentation for that Luke Battle Poncho. This was the steal, in my opinion. This same seller had a last 17 yak face, graded UKG 85%, brand new case style, and he only listed it for 349 pounds, which is 446 US dollars. And I think I documented in a recent loose, complete, ungraded video one of these that sold for the exact same price, ungraded. So this price I thought was really good, and it's well below market values. Even for UKG 85%, they can get closer to 600 to 650 US dollars. So this one I think was a little bit underpriced. It did have some wear to the hand, so it might be a little overgraded. You can see some scratches to both hands there. So the grades were 90% for the figure, 80% for the paint. And I think for the figure, they're looking at the tightness of the limbs there to make sure that, it's still really tight. So this, I think the figure, must have been pretty tight and pretty much unplayed with to get a 90%. But it appropriately got the 80% for the paint. And I think an overall 85 is probably a little high. I probably would have given it an 80, but still, 446 US dollars for a last 17 yak. That's the cheapest I've seen for a high-grade yak in a long time. So really good deal, whoever picked that one up. Next up was yet another CAS last 17 figure encased with the coin. It was a CAS 85 Barada enclosed with the coin. So I just love the way they present these. That one sold for 306 US dollars plus $10 shipping. That's a pretty good buy there. Just loose without the coin, they can sell for around 250. So I think with the coin inside for 306 was a good buy. Here was a cut card graded CAS 85%. So these are preserved graded cards that CAS does. UKG does this as well. AFA does not do this, but so this was still just like a cut card with the coin inside, still mint and sealed inside that blister, and it was graded 85 plus, and that one sold for $400 or $400 plus $6 shipping. But I don't collect cut cards, as you guys know, but that's a pretty nice high grade example for $400. And then finally we had a UKG 75 pop-up R2D2 lightsaber, another last 17, very heavy yellowing to the sticker, which is why I got the 75. The dome looked pretty good though, it looked pretty clean. It's just the sticker was pretty tatty there and very yellowed. So it got a 75, that's probably about right for that one. And that one sold for 500 pounds, which is 639 US dollars. So even in a fairly, middling grade for these R2D2 pop-up sabers, they still go for big money. And again, that one sold for 500 pounds, which is 640 US dollars. So lots of good data out there, lots of good deals out there in buy it now situations. Not a lot of AFA graded examples, although there are a number of different auctions going right now that I'm sure I'll cover in a later video here soon. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.